E3 2018 brought with it a slew of brand new PlayStation 4 game announcements. And in this video, we're gonna be going over every huge new PlayStation 4 game that was announced. We have 27 games to go over. But before we get into the video, I just want to mention that I did leave Starfield as well as The Elder Scrolls 6 off this list because Todd Howard did say that they were next generation games. I imagine that both of them will be released on the PlayStation 5, but if you want to include those games as well, then we'd have 29 games. So with that out of the way, let's get right into this. First up, we have Just Cause 4, the latest in the Just Cause franchise by Avalanche Studios, who is a studio that's staying really busy. Expect another chaotic and fun open world to explore as Just Cause 4 is releasing on December 2nd for the PS4.
Does that happen a lot? Want me getting shot at?
Devil May Cry 5. Yes, Devil May Cry is finally back with a brand new entry in Devil May Cry 5. In this game, you'll play as Nero, who is the main character in Devil May Cry 4. Got a little bit of a new look to it, however, you did see Dante at the end of the game, and it also does look like Virgil will be making an appearance of the game. Looks like a great action game, a little bit of an artistic shift from DMC4, but looks great nonetheless, scheduled to be released in spring 2019. Jump Force, an anime crossover game. In the trailer, we saw Naruto battling with Goku, battling with Luffy. We saw a little bit of Frieza, and at the end of the trailer, we also saw Light Yagami from Death Note. We've seen Jump games in the past, and some of them have been a little lukewarm, but Jump Force is shaping up really nicely. It'll be releasing sometime in 2019. Announced at the Bethesda conference, we are getting a brand new follow-up to 2016's Doom title in Doom Eternal. Not much is known about it, we just saw a cinematic trailer, but considering how good the 2016 game was, I imagine if Doom Eternal can build upon the successes of that game, it'll be a great experience as well. The Resident Evil 2 remake. This is one we had known was coming for a while, but this was the official reveal of gameplay, and wow, does this look incredible. It is a full-on remake from the ground up. Visually, it looks spectacular, and Resident Evil 2 is widely considered as one of the best in the franchise. So to be able to play it with modern visuals, that is going to be a joy. That is coming January 25th. Dying Light 2. Techland's Dying Light was one of the fantastic games released early on in the PlayStation 4's life, and now we have Dying Light 2, which is going to be a far bigger game with a lot more choices, multiple endings, all that good stuff. This looks to be a significant improvement upon the first game, and it'll be releasing sometime in 2019.
Dying Light 2 features a functioning ecosystem that reacts.
Next up, we have Hitman 2. This is another game that has been widely rumored, but it's been finally confirmed as Hitman 2 will be releasing later this year. The gameplay will be similar to its 2016 predecessor, but the game itself will have a cooperative component as well, and if you actually pre-order the game, you'll get that mode right away. Hitman 2 is scheduled for a release in November. Next up, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Yes, Assassin's Creed Odyssey was kind of confirmed through Twitter, but we got the official reveal at E3, and it looks to be carrying a lot over from Assassin's Creed Origins, which isn't a bad thing since that game was great, introducing a lot of new things. However, in the beginning of the game, you'll be able to select your character, whether you want to play as a male or a female. There's going to be a lot more naval combat and a lot of decision-making in the game as well. Assassin's Creed Odyssey's release is right around the corner as it's scheduled for an October 5th release. The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit is the next game from Don't Nod Entertainment and set in the Life is Strange universe. This will be another very story-driven game, but best of all, it'll be absolutely free to play on June 26th when it's released.
I don't need a lecture from my son.
I always get picked last for the team at school, and they never throw the ball to me.
They can't tell stories like you can they?
No way.
Next up, we have Babylon's Fall. Babylon's Fall is the newest game from Platinum Games, the developers behind the excellent Nier Automata, and they've done some other great action games. We just got a cinematic trailer for Babylon's Fall, and we don't know a lot of details in that trailer. We did see a lot of warriors in these huge suits of armor, so expect another very melee-focused game, as that's what Platinum is known for, and Babylon's Fall will be released sometime in 2019. Next up, we have Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Yes, the latest game from FromSoftware is set in a reimagined late 16th century Sengoku period, and you take control of a shinobi named Sekiro with a prosthetic left arm whose goal is to get revenge on a samurai who kidnapped his lord and dismembered his arm. It's another third-person action game, has some resemblances to Souls, but I'm sure it's gonna have a lot of unique elements in its own right, so don't take this as just another Souls game. This is absolutely a brand new IP from FromSoftware.
You'll learn to appreciate its worth.
Next up, we have Control. Control was the latest game from Remedy, the guys that also did Quantum Break as well as the excellent Alan Wake. And in Control, you are Jessie Faden, a young woman with a troubled past. You become the new director of the Borough Control and are fighting against supernatural enemies like the Hiss, threatening your very existence. Control will be hitting the PlayStation 4 sometime in 2019. Dead or Alive 6. Yes, the iconic fighting game franchise is back with Dead or Alive 6. This is the first Dead or Alive game built ground up for current-gen platforms, so this will be great to see in early 2019 with a lot of returning fan favorites, new locations, new characters, all that good stuff. Next up, we have a new PlayStation VR game in Dressine, a brand new story adventure created by the renowned developers in FromSoftware. This will be a PlayStation VR exclusive, and its story surrounds a spirit summoned by a young girl in a secluded boarding school. While it's not Bloodborne 2, considering it's FromSoftware, I'm sure it'll be of quality. Next up, we have kind of a surprising announcement in Neo 2. Neo was a fantastic game done by Tecmo Koei, however, it just released back in early 2017. We saw a couple of DLC packs for it, but they are going right back into it with Neo 2. This is another game where we just saw a cinematic trailer, so we don't know much, but we do know that the devs are going to retain the fundamentals of what made Neo great and just improve upon the little things that they did wrong, and it has been hinted that Neo 2's story will tie back with the first game.
Okay. So yes, it ties in with the first story. How, like time and setting, those will reveal in the coming days. But to me, I feel that...
Next up, we have Overcooked II, the sequel to the fun, frantic, cooperative multiplayer cooking game is coming later this year. Overcooked is a cooperative blast, and Overcooked II will be releasing sometime in August. The Quiet Man. The Quiet Man was one of the surprise announcements and new IP shown off at Square Enix's press conference, and it touts delivering an immersive, story-driven cinematic experience seamlessly blending high-production live-action, realistic CG, and pulse-pounding action gameplay. It also says that you can complete the game in just one sitting, so this is probably going to be a rather short game and probably a budget title as well. Next up, we have Sea of Solitude, one of the great games announced at a rather lackluster EA press conference. The Sea of Solitude has you control a young woman named Kay as she explores an abandoned submerged city and its creatures in order to reveal why Kay herself has turned into a monster.
I've just chased you so long now, I'm too weak to run. A new day is here.
Next up, we have Twin Mirror, the latest game from Don't Nod Entertainment, the developers behind Life is Strange, as well as the recently released Vampire. And the game's description states this, quote, with no memory of the night before and an ominously bloody shirt as his only clues, it's time for Sam to find the truth. Expect this to be another story-driven thrill ride. Next up, we have Tetris Effect. Coming from Tetsuya Mizugachi and the same people who brought you the award-winning Res Infinite and Luminous comes the new PlayStation 4 game in Tetris Infinite. This game looks so stylish. It also does have a PlayStation VR component, but if you want to play it just on a standalone PS4, don't worry, they've got you covered on that end as well. Expect some excellent music with some great Tetris gameplay.
Almost 2/3 reported seeing imagery from the game hours after they finished playing, often just as they were falling asleep. This fact on its own was newsworthy.
Next up, we have another PSVR game in Trevor Saves the Universe. Trevor Saves the Universe is coming from the mind of the co-creator of Rick and Morty. The art style and voices are very reminiscent of that, and Trevor Saves the Universe will be coming out sometime in 2019.
That's exciting footage I just saw. Oh, I'm playing it right now. Look at me, I'm a cool cucumber over here playing this cool game.
Next up, we have Wolfenstein The Youngblood. This is a standalone expansion to Wolfenstein II The New Colossus, and it's set 19 years after liberating the United States of America from the Nazis. The game itself will have you control BJ's 2 twin daughters, and of course, with controlling 2 characters, you can play through the game single player, but you can also play through the game cooperatively, so that'll be a very much appreciated addition to the Wolfenstein franchise. Wolfenstein The Youngblood is scheduled for release sometime in 2019.
To survive, you have to embrace the suffering. To stand up and carry it.
Next up, we have Generation Zero. Avalanche is staying really busy. While they're releasing Just Cause 4 later this year, they're doing Rage 2 next year. And also what looks to be coming next year is Generation Zero. It has you experience an explosive game of cat and mouse set in a vast open world. It's a reimagining of 1980s Sweden. Hostile machines have invaded the serene countryside. You can go it alone or team up with 3 of your friends in a seamless cooperative multiplayer experience. Generation Zero looks to be a very ambitious new IP. Again, it'll be releasing sometime in 2019. Next up, we have Session. While it's not the Skate 4 many of you were hoping for, Session is a brand new IP, and it looks to be a very interesting skateboarding game that looks very similar to Skate. A lot of people thought it was Skate when the trailer was airing at the Microsoft conference. Hopefully, Session can fill that void that Skate has left off, and it'll be released sometime in 2019. Next up, we have another game in the Trials franchise with Trials Rising. Yes, Trials returns with the biggest and most ambitious sequel to the franchise to date, combining the classic unforgiving gameplay, over-the-top action, with all new features, more competition, and a fresh visual look. Trials Rising is scheduled for release in an already packed February 2019. Metal Wolf Chaos XD. Metal Wolf Chaos XD was one of the more quietly announced games over at the Devolver Digital press conference, and it's a modernized re-release of From Software's 2004 mech shooter with upgraded visual fidelity, refined controls and gameplay, a new save system, and 4K and 16:9 support for modern displays.
Welcome to the White House.
And finally, we have Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. Yes, for the 10th anniversary of Tales of Vesperia, the Definitive Edition is finally being released over here in the West. This is the complete version of Tales of Vesperia, the 2009 version that was released on the PlayStation 3, but only in Japan. That version never came stateside. We will finally be getting to experience that, as Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition will be headed to the PlayStation 4 in winter